So my background is really, from the church. I started playing in my father's church, and that was really like a Church of God in Christ, Holiness Church, and we really were, we would definitely get involved in, the service, the church service. So my whole music introduction was just basically just immediately just being a part of something. Like we would sing all together in just this glorious, happy thing. So that's really how I got into music, and that's the way I like to try and continue. And the closest I can get to that type of thing, where I just get everybody all together and we all, you know, feel good is the way I like to try and present my music and my playing and things like that. So some of the things in church, is this big thing of call and response. You're always saying something and then somebody responds. And a lot of these styles and a lot of these things are like in blues too. It's like call and response. You get Muddy Waters and then you got Little Walter on the harmonica responding to what he, says or what he sings. So I really like to take this, example to heart, like so basically I would play like, to start off if I'm playing by myself, we're gonna play in the key of C, and I'll play a nine chord, and I'll start that off, I'll go, now I'm gonna answer that, that type of thing. So, you're really taking the smallest thing and making the most out of it. And that's sort of like what I feel blues is really based on, making something out of not much, you know. So you have this like phrase like, you answer it. Then you say like, something like that. You'll make it up every time. But that's really the basis of the things that I really like in blues and, sort of my background and things like that. And you can also apply these things like this to like funk guitar, too. Like if you're playing, something a little bit more funky, like, so you're playing one thing. Or, another blues example would be another thing that I like to do a lot is just playing this. So yeah, a lot of call and response. That's a big part of my, foundation. And also, I would say really knowing the pentatonic scale and just playing in all the different positions is another thing that I use a lot. Say you're in the key of E. In many years, I came up with this little thing, the blues scale. Yeah, that kind of thing. And then I just build on it, over the years. And over time, you start to just get that in your brain and start to work through it and come up with your own licks. And that way you can have a little bit more fluidity over the whole fretboard, for connecting these pentatonic style ideas, like. just comes down to phrasing. And the way to work on the phrasing is just to surround yourself with the kind of blues music that you want to, that you like. That could be someone singing, that could be your favorite guitar player, Albert King, B.B. King, Freddie King, Buddy Guy, Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Larry Carlton, even, or Aretha Franklin, or many different ways you can hear different phrasing. And I guess the main goal is to try and phrase more vocal like, and a vocalist, this is blues music mainly, a vocalist can't really do, like, unless she's an opera singer or something like that, she can't really do a whole lot with her voice. She can't like sweet pick or alternate pick with her voice, or his voice. So you really have to learn how to make these notes sing, and that's really a part of it. So if you have this call and response thing, and you have this thing of, like playing up and down the fingerboard and your standard blues licks that you picked up from everybody, then you really kind of have a background into playing blues and creating your own style and things. And this has really served me quite well, in my 30 plus years of playing guitar. So now I would like to give you another example of, in the slow blues, of kind of some of these concepts that I've been talking about a little bit. So we'll take a slow blues in B flat, and I'll go. And this time around, I'll play a little bit more up and down the neck. That kind of thing. So basically, it's, using that call and response type thing. And also, another thing is knowing your way around chords too. Chords are super important because if you plan on playing with somebody or you plan on playing gigs or just being that guy that everybody likes to play rhythm with and, work and everything like that, knowing chords is very, very important, just accompanying, so I really, maybe when I was about 17, 18 years old, I heard this Jimmy Witherspoon and Robben Ford record. And Robin was a young man and he was really playing a lot of chords that he had got out of a Mickey Baker Jazz Guitar One book, just like a million different nine chords, seven chords, 13 chords, and all of these different things. So basically, for your one chord in the blues, a lot of people would just play, your nine chord, but you want to have like a lot of different chords that you can, substitute just playing that one chord. You want to be able to have 13th chords, or so yeah, you just have to work really on just having different chords for each, chord in the progression for your one chord. And if you're in B flat, and then your five chord, So that's another thing. And then you have like your passing, little passing moves that you can do. But I mean that's really the basis of a lot of things for me and really repetitious and keeping things simple, and working on your right hand too. So these are all the things that make up sort of what I do. And then just having this backdrop of different things that you can, like come back and forth to. So I'll play another song. This song is one of my own songs. It's called El Medio Stomp. It goes a little something like this.
Incredibile.
Beautiful.
My
Beautiful.
life in 25 seconds.
Kirk, we've got a few questions for you.
Sure.
So some of them have come in through the Facebook, some of them come in people messaging, and some of them are just stuff that we want to know. So I'm just going to start. Can you talk about, or just give us a brief rundown of the gear that you're using now to do this, but also what gear you would use, what differences you'd make if you were going out and playing a gig?
Sure. Well, I'm playing this wonderful PRS DGT guitar that I switched the pickup selector from here to here just because I'm weird and I don't like to change things and get used to anything new. No, it's just easier for me like that. Dave likes the two volumes, but I just like to switch here in the master volume. Simple change, no big deal. And then I'm running through my pedal board that the beautiful people made for me, Gig Rig, and it's just a looper, and I just rearranged everything for here for the studio. And right now, all I have running is a Topanga reverb, and going straight into my Boss Katana Mini amplifier. Yeah. So I don't know if I can, my Katana
Oh
Mini.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I got to say, I think what would be interesting is quite a few people would probably look at that and go, "Wow, you're getting all those tones out of that amp." And
yeah.
I think that's just a sign of it's a good piece of kit.
Well, to add to that too is, I do have a Showbud volume pedal like Larry Carlton too, but that's just for volume. But I will say that, I've always been one to try and pull tone out of the guitar. And what I mean by that is, to me, lighter attack, bigger tone, so whatever, it's almost like an auto type thing. I almost go on autopilot. If I hear a tone when I first plug into something, if I hear it really bright or if I hear it really dark or something like that, I'll just try and make some adjustments before I even touch any tone knobs or anything with my pick attack. A friend of mine, Ron Ellis, and Mark Rutters, a fantastic guitar maker, in the US, they were like, man, you really just kind of making either one of these Telecaster guitars work, and it's really out of coming up playing a Fender Stratocaster, and trying to get many different tones. A lot of times on a guitar, if I want a jazzier tone, I'll just do, just to get more of a jazzy tone without touching the knob. So I think that's a big part of, maybe why I can make, a smaller amp work or a bigger amp, or just adjust my personal attack or my touch on the instrument before I touch any tone knobs. Anyway, sorry for the long answer.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Mike, what you got?
There's a couple coming online, and
Yeah.
Alan Richardson was marveling at your vibrato. So I was just going
Oh,
to ask you, did you consciously work on your vibrato? Did you study the vibrato of different players that you like, or was it something that just came to you naturally?
I just I know this may sound weird, but I just use my ears really as a guide to, you like, it's weird because I'm always like envious of weird things in guitar, like of other players. Like, I would never be envious of a guitar player if he can play fast because I just don't, it just doesn't register with me. I think it's beautiful. There's a lot of people that I love to hear play fast, and I go, wow, that's amazing. But, the things that get me is like if somebody comes up with a rhythm part, I'm like, how did they come up with this rhythm part? It is funkier than something I could come up with. And like vibrato's the same way. If I hear somebody and they're playing this vibrato and it's like this certain thing that just makes me go, oh man, like Otis Rush, so many different guys, obviously BB King, I just go, what do I need to do? technique. Well, how do I need, or even like a singer too. I know it sounds weird, but like Aretha Franklin are just these different ways that they do things to get it to sound more like a vocalist. So the vibrato is just something that I just hear it, and I just try and change it up for whatever I'm doing because from what I'm told, the older generation of guitar players, in the UK as well as in the US, you were kind of, the vibrato for blues guitar was like kind of one of the most important things. I mean, just talk to Eric Clapton or Peter Green or Danny Kerwin or Otis Rush or B.B. King. I mean, or Freddie King or whoever. The vibrato was very important. So I always felt that this was my voice before I sang or anything. I felt it was my voice. So I really didn't necessarily sit down and work on it, but on the bandstand and playing along to records and vocalists and trying to mimic vocalists and answer them back when they would sing and I would play a phrase, all of these kind of things helped me develop, I think it's my vibrato. I don't think it's the best vibrato or anything. I just think I've started to develop my own signature kind of vibrato a little bit for me, you know.
So, Kirk, can I?
Sure.
It's been fantastic having you with us this morning. Thank you so much for
Oh, it's my
spending some
pleasure.
time with you. I just want to ask you one more thing. If
Yeah,
you
sure.
do you have like one little brilliant piece, or not even brilliant, just a great piece of advice for the guys and girls who are out there watching this, the guitar players? What's the one thing that you think that the piece of advice that you could give them that would help them on their journey to develop their playing and their style and their character?
Taking in as much music as you can. Just bring it in because even if it's not blues or whatever, it might influence you or inspire you, and listen to music with your heart and your ears first and your mind and really take it in like that as opposed to just trying to find out the licks or, like some part of it. Oh, I got to figure out this solo. Take in the whole thing, how the drums work, how the vocals, keyboards, all that stuff work together to make it magical. Try and find the magic in the music, and that's been like to this day, right now, before this interview, that's what I was doing, listening to music and taking it in, going, wow,